So hello and welcome to this session on value selling. My name's Peter Grigolis and I'm responsible for sales enablement for our channel partners across EMEA. In this session I want to explain what the value selling program from SAP is all about, what it means to you as a business partner and how you should get engaged. Straight away I'd like to talk about the options that you have. It's really important that you understand why this is going to be a benefit to you, and as a consequence I'd like to focus your attention on three quotes that I have. As you'll see from these, they are quotes from various parts of our sales organisation and our partner community, and they reflect the value add that a value selling approach can bring to you and your business. What I haven't been able to do here is quantify exactly what they mean to you, but hopefully by your ability to interpret the numbers given, you can see that value selling is about adding money in terms of revenue and profit to your organisation. The actual amounts are dependent on where you are at the moment and on where you could be. We would refer to this as your benchmark gap. But what is value selling and what's it really all about? Well, if we start off by looking at two examples. The first one is an example from potentially one of your customers and how you would go to market to sell to them. In this example, we're talking about a trade organisation, and you might well approach them with a view to selling them some forecasting and better business planning software. And the way you would engage is to understand something about their current situation, the pains that they face. And perhaps we refer to this as pain-based selling. You identify the fact that they have high inventories, and you can identify then the fact that those inventories are causing pains. There's obviously working capital that's tied up in their business through funding that stock. But operationally, the fact that the warehouse is full means that they can't bring in stock that they perhaps need to fulfill immediate orders, or they have to rent additional warehouse space. So clearly there's a pain in their business. To match that pain, we then look at the SAP processes in the software that we have, and we provide a solution. So in this case, it might be that better forecasting could help manage the stock, and by forecasting we can then manage the warehouse better. And so we hope that by demonstrating our solution we are able to convince the customer that by removing the pain he is now in a better situation. But one of the fundamental problems that we have here is that we assume that the customer, and that in particular the decision makers at the customer, can relate to this pain. Now, when we look at this example with the warehouse and stock, let's just think about who's going to make the decision. It's a board of directors. There's maybe 5 directors representing the different areas of the business, and the logistics director is only too well aware of this pain. But does the sales director know? Does the marketing director know? Unlikely. So what we have to do is we have to find a common language that the different individuals in the business can relate to. And in most companies, when we're dealing with commercial organisations, that common language is finance. So what we do is, instead of just relating the pain that the customer has to our solution, we have to dig a little bit deeper and find out what does that pain actually mean in financial terms. And this is what I would refer to as value selling. Value selling is about transforming the fact that we have high stock and therefore the inability to service customer orders properly and an increase in working capital to what is the value of that. So let's put it into terms of euros, pounds, whatever currency that we use, and quantify it. So in this case, maybe the customer is holding 100 days worth of stock, and that's equivalent to 100,000 euros. If we could then benchmark what he's doing to what the rest of his industry is doing, and maybe that is 80 days worth of stock, we can legitimately say to him, there is a potential saving here of 20 days. This is one approach early on in the sales cycle, but later on we might be able to work with him and see what he would really sponsor. Maybe the difference between 180 is a little bit too much for him. Maybe he's happy with 15. But we can see now that we've got 15 days worth of stock or 20 days worth of stock that could be saved, and we can turn this into a financial metric. The working capital saved based on that would be somewhere in the region of £50,000, assuming the 100,000 of fixed capital already invested. So you can see here the ability to transform a pain into a financial value, and then when you provide a solution, you can now say, my solution that is costing you X is delivering you X plus Y in terms of overall benefit. That is what value selling is really all about. How do you get to the decision makers at the end of the process and convince them that you can deliver either more revenues to their business, greater profitability, or lower cost? And all three of those things are intrinsically linked. And you can see also here, even if you're dealing with non-commercial organisations, perhaps public sector is a good example, or charities, they're just as interested in cost management so they can better use their money. So this principle of value selling still applies equally well. I said I'd use two examples, and the one I've used so far is you selling to a customer. But given that you're watching this video, you're probably an SAP channel partner. So the second example I'd like to use for you is, let's look at your business as a channel partner, and let's look at how I might approach you using a value type concept in my sales. Well, the first thing I would do, just like any sales meeting, is sit back and ask you the simple question: tell me about your business. And in this case, I want to focus purely on the sales part of your organisation. You might well respond, well, there's three parts to my sales organisation. There's a lead generation function, pretty much driven and organised and managed by the marketing function. I then have the opportunity to close the sales cycle per se, and that's where my sales executives are focused. And I then have a third area, which is about making sure we've got the right value proposition all the way through the sales cycle. So a generic value proposition up front, and then customizing it and honing it in to the specifics required for a particular customer. And this is the job of product management and the pre-sales team, working very closely together.